student runs amok, killing 15 and injured 25 others in Prague. Israel bombs a newly reopened aid crossing point. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Onto Othman and you're watching World Today. A 24-year-old student killed 15 people and wounded 25 at a Prague university in the deadliest attack in the modern Czech history. Police say the gunman was also eliminated following the shooting at Charles University in the historic center of the capital. The violence sparked evacuations, a massive response by heavily armed police and warnings for people to stay indoors. The shooting erupted at the university's Faculty of Arts, which sits near major tourist sites like the 14th century Charles Bridge. All the victims were killed inside the building.
To tady říkal tu dějovou linii na začátku záměrně, protože informace, že je studentem filozofické fakulty a prověrka, zda má mít, nemá mít výuku, to jsme si provedli sami a tu výuku a tu svoji přednášku měl mít dneska ve 14 hodin, ale v objektu v Celetné ulici. Já v tuto chvíli nevím, jaký motiv se rýsuje, ale mluvím tady o inspiraci jednoho člověka doposud z informací, které máme, tak premiantního studenta hrůzným činem jinde na světě.
Fontersak added the gunman, previously unknown to the police, had a huge arsenal of weapons and ammunition, and that quick police action prevented far more serious carnage. Fontersak said police started a search for the man before the mass shooting, as his father had been found dead in the village of Huston, west of Prague. Citing a probe into social media, Vondrasak said the gunman was inspired by a similar case that happened in Russia, without going into details. Meanwhile, the government declared a day of mourning across the Central European country for 23rd December, with flags on official buildings to be flown at half-mast and people asked to observe a minute's silence at noon.
Apeluji na všechny, aby tento tragický incident nezneužívali. Aby nebyl zneužíván politicky, aby nebyl zneužíván k útokům na policii, aby nebyl zneužíván k šíření dezinformací. A tento apel se vztahuje na všechny. Na politiky, na média, na občany, na všechny, kteří mají přístup k sociálním sítím, protože to, co v této situaci potřebujeme především, je pieta, zdrženlivost a soudržnost.
The worst shooting since the Czech Republic emerged as an independent state in 1993 also prompted messages of support from across the world. US President Joe Biden sent his condolences, slamming the senseless shooting. French President Emmanuel Macron also expressed his solidarity with the Czech people, as did many other European leaders, including European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. Israel bombed a newly reopened and aid crossing point as the United Nations Security Council once again pushed back a vote for a much-delayed resolution on pursuing or pausing the Gaza fighting. Hamas Health Ministry said an Israeli strike killed Bassem Rabin, the head of the Palestinian side of Kerem Shalom, the crossings authority. 3 other people were also killed when Israeli aircraft targeted the infrastructure. Israeli officials did not immediately respond to requests from AFP for comment. The UN Secretary-General spokesman, Stefan Dujarric, said the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, was unable to receive aid trucks via Kerem Shalom following the drone strike, and the World Food Programme suspended operations at the crossing. Meanwhile, the United Nations Human Rights Office in Ramallah said it had received reports that Israeli troops had summarily killed at least 11 unarmed Palestinian men in Gaza City's Rimal neighborhood this week. It said details and circumstances of the killings in Rimal are still being verified, but it raises alarm about the possible commission of a war crime. In another development, the UN Security Council once again pushed back a vote for a much-delayed resolution calling for a halt in fighting. Israel has rejected the term ceasefire, and Washington has used its veto twice to thwart resolutions opposed by Israel since the start of the war. The World Health Organization said on Thursday that northern Gaza has been left without functional hospital due to the lack of fuel, staff and supplies. Only 9 out of 36 health facilities are partially functional in the whole of Gaza, and all these facilities are concentrated in the enclave's south. WHO representative in Gaza, Richard Peppercorn, described Al-Ahli Hospital as a shell of a hospital, saying it resembled a hospice providing very limited care. About 10 staff, all junior doctors and nurses, continue to provide basic first aid, pain management and wound care with scant resources. Peppercorn said that in addition to Al-Ahli Hospital, northern Gaza had only 3 other minimally functioning health facilities: Al-Shifa, Al-Auda and Al-Sahaba hospitals.
Many of these patients have lost family members and don't have anyone to bring them water or food. Some of them are severely injured and have been waiting for surgery for 2 weeks. Others have been operated on but are now at risk of post-operation infection due to lack of antibiotics and other drugs. All these patients cannot move and need to be transferred urgently to have a chance to survive.
17th of October.
He added the bodies of victims from recent attacks are lined up in the hospital's courtyard, given that they cannot be given safe and dignified burials. He said WHO once again calls for a humanitarian ceasefire to bring forth and restock remaining health facilities, deliver health services needed by thousands of injured people and those needing other essential care. The conflict in Gaza continues to severely compromise food utilization. The absence of cooking gas has resulted in heightened reliance on firewood, wood residues, and waste burning as a primary source of cooking fuel. The shortage of water and concerns about its safety are affecting food utilization. In besieged, war-torn Gaza, displaced peoples in southern governorates have reported an average access of less than 2 liters of water per person per day.
يعني عمرناش بهدلنا في الحرب هذه، تبهدلنا أكثر بهدلة، يعني بهدلة مش طبيعية، بهدلة كثير عشان نوفر وجبة الغداء، والحياة هنا غالية صارت لا تطاق لا تطاق، لا مرتاحين في نوم ولا في أكل ولا في شرب ولا في أي شيء، كل شيء مش موجود.
Poor food consumption levels in households could manifest as a lack of daily consumption of staples and vegetables, along with nearly no intake of protein-rich foods such as meat and dairy.
اليوم احنا وضعنا صعب في مراكز الإيواء. مراكز الإيواء فيها فوضى وفيها عنف وفيها أشياء لا تطاق. الناس اللي هنا ناس أوادم، حتى المساعدات اللي بتجيبها وكالة الغوث أو أي مؤسسات أخرى أصبحت مكلفة في صنعها للطهي أكثر من ثمنها. اليوم الناس مش قادرة لا تشتري ولا تحضر حتى للطعام، لأنها الناس بدها غاز. أول حاجة ما في غاز في البلد.
Food utilization refers to the ability of individuals to make good use of the food they access. The city of Kyiv came under a mass Russian drone attack late on Thursday night, with Mayor Vitaly Klitschko and other officials reporting strikes on widely separated residential districts. Klitschko said a drone had hit a block of flats in the Solomyansky district south of the city center, triggering a fire. Klitschko also reported a drone strike on a private house in Danitsky district on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River that runs through the city. One person was injured and emergency crews were on their way to the scene. Seripopko, head of Kyiv's military administration, reported fragments from a downed drone had struck an apartment building in a third area, Holoitsitsky district, also south of the city center. Kyiv's military administration published photos on social media of apartment buildings with windows blown out, saying debris from a downed drone had caused the damage rather than a strike. The Ukrainian Air Force said several groups of drones were moving towards the center, west, and south of the country. Russian missiles and drones frequently target Kyiv, but are usually shot down, with the incident the first of its kind in months. Meanwhile, Russian shelling had left 3 people dead and several more injured at mining facilities in Toretsk, a town in the war-battered eastern Donetsk region. The region has seen the brunt of fighting as Russia's nearly 2-year invasion, and the Kremlin claimed to have annexed it along with 3 other eastern and southern territories last year. Interior Minister Igor Klimenko, in a statement on social media, said 2 bombs hit the territory of one of the mines in Toretsk. 2 more bombs hit the territory of another mine. He said that the first mine hit had been cut off from electricity and that 32 miners who were underground at the time of the attack had been brought to the surface. Klemenko added that the Russian strikes damaged administrative buildings and equipment at the mine, and police were investigating the incident. Parts of Donetsk, a region known for its coal mines, have been partially controlled by Russian forces or their proxies since 2014. Prior to Russia's invasion, Toretsk had a population of around 31,000 people. It lies north of the town of Adivka, a hotspot of fighting in the east, which Russian forces are attempting to encircle. Coming up, 3 police officers acquitted over the killing of a black man. Stay tuned. 3 police officers in Tacoma, Washington were acquitted on Thursday in the killing of an unarmed black man in a case bearing parallels to the murder of George Floyd in the same year. Officers Christopher Burbank and Matthew Collins were found not guilty of murder and manslaughter charges, while a 3rd officer, Timothy Rankine, was found not guilty of manslaughter following a trial that lasted more than 2 months. The officers punched 33-year-old Manuel Ellis, put him in a chokehold, and shot him with a stunt gun on 3rd March 2020. Video footage showed Collins restraining Ellis by the neck as Burbank fired a taser into his chest as he lay on the ground. Defense lawyers for the officer said the police stopped Ellis because he was approaching a car turning at an intersection, while a witness said she saw Ellis just standing at the intersection when police called him over to their car. Lawyers for the officers argued that Ellis, who had methamphetamine in his system, died due to his drug use and a heart condition. They alleged Ellis kicked the police car door, and the officers, he said, had no choice but to respond forcefully. The Pierce County medical examiner ruled his death a homicide caused by oxygen deprivation. Ellis's killing occurred weeks before the infamous George Floyd's murder at the hands of the Minneapolis police. Bystander video of Ellis's death was released in June 2020, a week after Floyd was killed, leading to protest in Tacoma. Trump ally Rudy Giuliani filed for bankruptcy on Thursday, days after a jury decided he must pay more than $148 million in damages to 2 former Georgia election workers he defamed by falsely accusing them of helping to rig the 2020 election. Giuliani, who helped Republican former President Donald Trump advance his false claims of a stolen 2020 election, filed a petition in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York. In the filing, Giuliani said he had between $100 million and $500 million in liabilities and $1 million to $10 million in assets. In the filing, Giuliani said he owed $148 million to Ruby Freeman and Wandrea Moss, the 2 former Georgia election workers. It also listed President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, as a creditor without specifying the amount Giuliani owed him. Hunter Biden, in September, sued Giuliani for violating his privacy over data allegedly taken from his laptop. Giuliani listed the Internal Revenue Service and New York State Department of Taxation and Finance among his creditors. Suriname's ex-president Desi Botese will be jailed after losing his appeal against a 20-year prison sentence for the murder of political opponents over 4 decades ago. The South American country's highest court on Wednesday upheld Botese's 2019 conviction for the execution of 15 people, lawyers, journalists, businessmen and military personnel in December 1982, 2 years after he took power following a coup. In a statement, the office said it would now proceed with the execution of the sentence and would consult with Botese and his lawyer to determine the day and date of the execution of the sentence imposed. Botese, a former strongman who led 2 coups and also served as an elected president in the country, a former Dutch colony, has remained free, awaiting the outcome of his case. According to Suriname law, Botese has 8 days from the appeal hearing to ask the president for clemency. In July, Botese, who remains very popular, notably with the country's poor and working classes, said he would respect the ruling. A former assistant to the actor Vin Diesel filed a lawsuit against him, alleging that he sexually battered her in 2010 and that she was fired from her job just hours later. The suit is the latest claim to be lodged with court in California, which has extended the length of time in which legal action can be taken in cases of alleged sexual crimes. In the lawsuit, the former assistant, Asta Jonathan, alleges that Diesel assaulted her in an Atlanta hotel room while the pair were working on the movie Fast 5. Legal and public relations representatives for Diesel did not immediately reply to requests for comment. The lawsuit said Jonathan remained silent for years, afraid to speak out against one of the world's highest-grossing actors, afraid she would be ostracized from the industry. Jonathan is one of many women to accuse prominent entertainment industry figures of sexual misconduct since the #MeToo movement began in 2017 in the aftermath of accusation against now imprisoned movie producer Harvey Weinstein. A top-level U.S. delegation will head to Mexico soon to discuss concerns on migration after the 2 countries' leaders spoke on the phone and agreed urgent action was needed. According to a White House readout, Presidents Joe Biden and Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador discussed ongoing efforts to manage migratory flows and also called for swift implementation of enforcement measures. The readout said Biden asked Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, and the White House Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall to travel to Mexico in the coming days. Biden and Lopez Obrador agreed that additional enforcement actions are urgently needed so that key ports of entry can be reopened. U.S. Border Police have in recent weeks reported approximately 10,000 crossings every day. The leaders spoke as authorities in 2 U.S. border states, Texas and Arizona, have in recent days taken unprecedented steps aimed at reducing illegal crossings while accusing the federal government of inaction. The previous fiscal year, from October 2022 through September 2023, saw a record 2.4 million encounters by Border Patrol with migrants, including at both official ports of entry and elsewhere along the southern border. A strike by workers operating the Channel Tunnel blocked train travel between Britain and France, leaving thousands of pre-Christmas travelers as well as freight traffic stranded. The strike is being carried out by employees of the tunnel's French operator Getlink. There were scenes of chaos at Gare du Nord station in Paris and St. Pancras in London, the main hubs for cross-channel train travel, as travelers waited for services to resume only to be told their trains were cancelled. The Channel Tunnel opened in 1994 as the first undersea link between France and the English coast. It carries passengers on Eurostar trains as well as cars and freight vehicles on special cargo trains. Eurotunnel unions later announced they were ending the strike following negotiations with management. Getlink said rail shuttle service would resume from Thursday evening and Eurostar passenger trains would follow suit on Friday. Lava flows from a volcano that erupted this week in Iceland have eased further, and no volcanic activity is now visible, scientists said after flying over the area early on Thursday. The Icelandic Meteorological Office said in a statement yesterday that lava flows seemed to have diminished overnight, but that it was too early to declare the eruption over. It said scientists flying over the volcanic areas confirmed that no volcanic activity is visible, and it appears to have extinguished in the craters, but glow is still visible in the lava field. The French city of Montpellier in southern France became the latest European metropolis to allow all its residents to ride public transportation for free. From Thursday evening, Montpellier residents with a special pass were able to ride trams and buses free of charge in the southern city. Michel Delafos, the socialist mayor of the city of 500,000 people, said the initiative was part of a European commitment to the climate and purchasing power. Canadian restaurants and cafes are no longer permitted to offer plastic straws, food containers, checkout bags or cutlery to customers, despite a court ruling this was unconstitutional. The regulation banning single-use plastics was introduced last year and was to be phased in as part of Ottawa's commitment to achieve zero plastic waste by 2030. According to Ottawa, Canadians throw away 3 million tons of plastic waste each year, including a staggering 15 billion bags annually. Only 9% of it is recycled. The government has said it aims to hike that to 90%, in line with the European targets for 2029. Up next in sports, European top court rules UEFA and FIFA unlawful, preventing Super League formation. Stay with us. Serbian midfielder Sergej Milinkovic-Savic bagged a hat-trick as league leaders. Al Hilal fired 7 past Abha in the Saudi Pro League on Thursday. It was Al Hilal's 19th straight win across all competitions and sees them extend their lead atop the table to 50 points, 13 clear of nearest challengers Al Nassr, who have 2 games in hand. The 28-year-old former Lazio man began the goal fest in the 18th minute. Countryman Aleksandar Mitrovic added a second 7 minutes later from the penalty spot for his 16th of the campaign, drawing him level with Al Nassr's Cristiano Ronaldo in the race for the Golden Boot. Saudi winger Salim Al-Dawsari brought his tally for the season to 9 when he netted the game's third in the 72nd minute, after which the floodgates and truly opened, with Milinkovic-Savic scoring his second and Mohamed Kano grabbing the fifth in the 79th and 82nd minutes respectively. Portuguese midfielder Ruben Neves would score the pick of the bunch in the 86th when his inch-perfect free kick found the top corner, before Milinkovic-Savic finished off his hat-trick with a powerful header across the face of goal late in stoppage time. The European Court of Justice on Thursday said UEFA and FIFA contravened European Union law by preventing the formation of a Super League in a landmark ruling that could change the way football is run. The European clubs that proposed forming the breakaway league, which sparked widespread protests among angry fans, had been threatened with sanctions by UEFA if they went ahead with the plan, leading to 9 clubs pulling out. In its ruling, the EU's top court said that FIFA and UEFA abused their dominant position by forbidding clubs to compete in the European Super League, although that project may still not be approved as the court did not rule on it specifically. UEFA has organized pan-European competitions for nearly 70 years and sees the ESL project as a significant threat to the lucrative Champions League, for which teams qualify on merit. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus and 9 other leading European clubs announced the breakaway plan in April 2021. But the move collapsed within 48 hours after an outcry from fans, governments and players forced Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspurs, Arsenal, AC Milan, Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid to pull out. Sports development company A22, which was formed to assist with creating the Football European Super League, proposed a new competition on Thursday with 64 men's and 32 women's teams playing midweek matches in a league system across Europe. A22 CEO Bernd Reichert said participation will be based on sporting merit. There will be no permanent members and the clubs will remain committed to their domestic leagues. A22 also proposed free viewing of all live matches in a league governed by the participating clubs rather than a body like UEFA.
Football is free. Free from the monopoly of UEFA, free to pursue the best ideas without fear of sanctions, and under our proposal, free viewing of all live matches. This morning, the European Court of Justice ended UEFA's near 70-year monopoly by determining that FIFA and UEFA's rules on prior approval of interclub competitions are contrary to European Union law.
The Super League competition would threaten UEFA's major club competitions, including its flagship Champions League. The proposed format for the men's competition includes 64 teams in 3 leagues: Star, Gold and Blue. The Star and Gold leagues will have 16 clubs each, while the Blue League has 32 clubs. Teams will play home and away in groups of 8, which would mean a minimum of 14 matches a year. There will be annual promotion and relegation between leagues, while teams can qualify for the Blue League based on domestic league performance. The women's competition would have 2 leagues of 16 clubs each. The Premier League said Thursday it continues to reject the concept of a European Super League after promoters announced plans for a new breakaway competition. The English top flight said in a statement that the ruling does not endorse the so-called European Super League, and the Premier League continues to reject any such concept. The Premier League reiterates its commitment to the clear principles of open competition that underpin the success of domestic and international club competitions. La Liga, in the meantime, reacted angrily to Europe's top court ruling, declaring Super League as a selfish and elitist model. The 2 heavyweights of Spanish football, Real Madrid and Barcelona, had been the final 2 clubs who remained prominents of the Super League. But La Liga has firmly opposed the concept. It added anything that is not fully open, with direct access only through the domestic leagues, season by season, is a closed format. And with that, we reach the end of today's bulletin. In our top story, student runs amok, killing 15 people and wounding 25 others in the deadliest attack in Czech history. Now do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. and on TV1. Start on Berita RTM for more news. I'm Otto Othman. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.